Welcome to The Counter Offer. I am your host, Susanna Gray-Jones, recruitment strategist and owner of Chime Search. It is my belief that it's simply not worth being a mediocre recruiter. Recruiting is tough, and it is my mission to make sure that you get all the best tricks and use the daily rituals to be the highest earning billers to become exceptional recruiters. So, tune in and learn the secrets that the elite don't want you to know. As we edge towards Christmas, I am so excited to have today's guest, which is Justin McGuire. Justin is a recognised figure in the regional MENA and APAC talent sector since 2008. Justin's professional journey has taken him across major world cities such as London, Dubai, Riyadh, Hong Kong, and Singapore. Justin also spent a year living in the Honduras in Central America. But Justin's impact isn't limited to his company MCG Talent. His strategic investments have seen significant success. Notably, Diversely, a platform pushing the boundaries of diversity in hiring, was acquired by the Access Group in 2023. Through his ventures and leadership, Justin continues to shape the landscape of talent and investment in the modern era. This is bound to be a great episode. I hope you enjoy. Thank you so much, Justin, for coming on The Counteroffer. For anyone who's listening to this, I think we've been talking about this for about 6 months or something like that.
I think so, yeah.
Well, thank you for coming. I know how busy you are and you're here, there and everywhere. For our listeners, can you just introduce yourself? Tell us a bit about how you came into the world of recruitment through this entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, sure. So hi, everyone. My name's Justin McGuire. I run MCG Talent, which is a marketing, communications, creative and digital recruitment business. We only work in the Middle East and Asia, and we have licenses and presence in Hong Kong, Singapore, Riyadh, and Dubai. And I've been in Dubai for about 15 years. I got into recruitment like most people. I fell into it. Well, I sort of selected and fell into it. I worked within the Marcoms world for 7 years, worked in agency life, was a candidate looking for a job, realized no one understood what I did because I worked in digital marketing. So I ended up turning into a recruiter.
I love that. You also say, and you've said this to me a few times, no one quite understood what I did, the digital communications.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, I struggle. Like, I've read a few things. So you must be used to trying to explain it to people now. So for our audience who are like, digital communications, that sounds interesting. How can you describe that in the most possibly clear way?
Well, I was doing content marketing. So on behalf of brands, so brand funded programming is probably the best way of putting it. Yeah. So if you like stripping it back, you probably, when you're a supermarket, you got magazines that the supermarket would give out, give you recipes and give you lifestyle guidance, etc. Take that concept and put it online. And that's what I did. So I was creating content online for brands and then getting that content published into various different publications. Nice. So we were coming up with the ideas, the creative ideas that would help the brand get published.
Nice. Yeah. Now, I think, and I want to talk a lot about MCG Talent and all that you've done there, but I think your life is probably pretty unusual compared to the average person who's listening to this. The amount of traveling that you've done, I think there was Marbella, you've lived in Singapore. First of all, let's start here. You were in recruitment for 2 years before starting up your own business.
Yes.
How did that happen? Because there's people who have been flirting with the idea in their head for years and never actually break into starting their own business. So talk us through that.
Yeah, I think it's obviously in my DNA, isn't it? There's definitely a risk-taking side in my DNA, which was triggered when I entered into the world of recruitment. But I think you've got to put into perspective, I'd been in the working world for 10 years when I set up the business. So, and it was sort of, the setting up the company was an experience that probably got fast-forwarded by the global financial crisis. Yeah. So I often hear people say the best time to set up a business is in a period of recession. Yeah. Well, I ended up being in Dubai. I moved to take on a job in Dubai. The market completely crashed across the world. The job I came out to do never transpired and happened. What? So I saw that there was an opportunity. After Dubai started rapidly recovering from the crisis, an opportunity was sort of created in front of me whereby the recruitment business that I worked in the UK, I was able to set that up in Dubai with zero competition. And not many times do these windows of opportunity open, where you get first mover advantage. And so back in 2009, when I saw that window of opportunity open, I thought I'd be foolish not to jump in on it. So by the time 2010 came along, I was prepped, I was ready. I'd mapped out what I wanted to do, and I jumped in. Now, I thought, what's the worst that can happen, right?
Yeah, good attitude.
Yeah, I thought if it all failed, well, I can go work for someone else or go back into advertising.
Yeah. So you talk about it now, right? You talk about it now as if what's the worst that could happen, quite confidently. I bet it wasn't like that at the time. It must have been freaking scary, right? You're out in this place and the markets, there's not so many people here. Like right now it's booming. You meet business people everywhere. You can get advice anywhere. Yeah. It must tell us about what was it? When was it really difficult? I've started a very small business on my own. That was really hard.
Yeah, it was. Look, the way of setting up business here was completely different then. So first of all, you had to go into business with an Emirati. It was extremely expensive, and you had to go through lots of red tape. Yeah. So I ended up, and there were no candidates here as well, which was quite an interesting experience. So there's lots of clients, no candidates here. So I ended up sort of living between Dubai and the UK. And going back to the UK to get candidates. Also, I took on, while I was going back there to the UK, I took on another job back there where I was recruiting in the UK for the business I used to work for, and doing some odds and sods recruiting in the UK. But my main focus was on building my business out in Dubai. So I actually used the money I earned in the UK initially to spend on setting up my license out here. And it took me a while going backwards and forwards to do that. Yeah. I think I'm a person that's driven by fear in a weird sort of way. So I think that I used the fear, and I tried to use the fear in a positive way. I was completely scared, but I thought I would just could outwork it, and I could make it happen and make it a success. Yeah. And actually, I did it in quite a short period of time. I think that's always been sort of one of my roles. So,
you know what? I never knew that about you, and I'm exactly the same. Yeah. And I hang around with a lot of Americans who are like, "That's so negative. Why would you always think that you're going to be out on the street tomorrow?" I'm like, because I need to be scared to keep going. So it's really interesting that you've said that you're like that. I think. Yeah, I'm always interested in people who have that entrepreneurial mindset. And you obviously did quite a young age. Even your 30s is young now to have an entrepreneurial mindset. So I think, what kind of conditions were you always at school? Were you a high achiever? Were you always someone who were you a perfectionist? Were you very disciplined? What kind of...
So at school, I wasn't very disciplined. I was very competitive. So I was good at sport. I was always... I was quite a free spirit in school. I think that's the best way to describe myself. And I always wanted to get out into the working world. My situation at home dictated that I had to my father wasn't around, so I had to sort of be ahead of I was always conscious that my mum was on her own, and that I had a little sister, and that they didn't have much money. So I guess I felt that I had to get into the working world as fast as possible. Yep. So I was, to me, it felt like school and university to a degree were getting in the way of doing that. So sport kept me very active and involved in work, but probably from I wasn't the best. I passed all my exams somehow, but I wasn't the best academic student. Yeah.
So I guess you kind of had that kind of need. It sounds like you had that feeling that you wanted to protect your mum and your sister, and that family kind of feeling of looking after them, which I guess would have been a driver. But in Dubai, and I hope I'm not offending anyone who's listening to this, you do meet quite a lot of people who are all about the pound signs. Yeah. Look at my awesome apartment. Look at my awesome car, which they bought on credit because they can. And there's a lot of that out here. But you're more than that, right? Because I've seen the way we've spoken about candidates in the past who have come by bad fortune. When I came out here, I was freaking scared. I was like, what am I doing? What's the tax? What's going on? And you gave time. So there's that element of you that is genuinely interested and curious about people, would you say?
Yeah, I'm curious about people. I'm also think you get an opportunity. I'm all about spotting an opportunity. And if you get, keep in mind where I said I've come from, I wanted to look after my mum and my sister. I saw when I came out to this place, I saw that there was a massive opportunity to fast forward my life. Yeah. And I clocked that very quickly. And I get extremely wound up when I hire people and they don't, and the complacency bug kicks in, which is what a big problem that a lot of employers have in Dubai is that a lot of people come out here and they see the beaches, the lifestyle, and they get caught up in it.
Yeah.
And I'm always conscious that because there's different cohorts that come out. I've been out here for nearly 15 years now. And each year you see there's a group of people that go for it, make the most of the opportunity in Dubai. But there's a large proportion of people that get caught up in the lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I'm always quite passionate about promoting this part of the world, Dubai, for what it can offer you and how it can change your life.
The Counter Offer podcast is proud to be sponsored by Soul Space Studio. Tap into your inner strength and create profound shifts in your physical, mental, and emotional well-being at work. Soul Space Studio well-being workshops can help reduce stress and create thriving culture to deepen connections to help your team strengthen their resilience to improve their creative flow. To find out more, please check the podcast's show notes.
I always find it interesting that you say that people get caught up in the lifestyle. So for me, it's been the opposite. It's like I'm around successful people. I need to up my game.
Yeah.
And I guess there is that element of it. Now, I have heard the worst about what it's like to actually live in Dubai before moving here. There are a lot of myths out there. What would you say the biggest kind of myths are that you've heard over the years and that you've kind of had to dispel about recruitment world out in Dubai?
Gosh, you get all... Look, it's not easy, but I'll tell you the myths that I've been dispelled. Oh, you can't... Everyone says, oh, you can't hold hands in public. Oh, you can't... You'll get arrested for having a drink. Oh, do absolutely anything and you get arrested. And look, to a degree, I think the UK press has had a large part to play in that. I think Dubai it's always... sort of attacked Dubai a little bit, and it's anything that's happened in Dubai has always been blown out of proportion.
Yeah.
There's been various documentary programs and series which makes it look like money, and it doesn't really show the real inner workings of what goes on in the Middle East. So I think the myths are that everyone drives around in gold-plated Rolls Royces and life's really easy. You work longer hours here than you probably do in most places, but you can reap the rewards from that.
Yeah.
There is you can afford yourself a fantastic lifestyle here, but you've got to work really hard for it.
Yes.
And it's interesting that you've sort of been caught up in the entrepreneurial world that makes you want to up your game. There's not many people that do. And that's great that you've entered that world. And I've met so many people that have bettered their lives or come here and got within the right circle and managed to achieve more success than they've ever had elsewhere, because you are always the average of the 5 people you surround yourself in.
You really are. And you're never going to achieve perfection, right? Even if you keep trying to get there. I'm speaking about moving forward and trying to achieve perfection. You've scaled quite quickly from what I can see.
Yeah. What
does that look like? I don't know if you're prepared to sort of share numbers. Like, what kind of level are you at the moment with MCG Talent from where you were, let's say, last year?
Yeah, we're a business that's sort of 30 odd people and we're circa 5 million. I'm trying to take us to a 10 million business right now. But I'm trying to do it in a way that is different to how we've ever scaled before. I think one of the things I've learned about Dubai and Singapore, because I live there as well, is that they're quite hard places to scale businesses. So the way I'm looking at scaling our business now is that we have a team on the ground where we have licenses. Yeah. But quite frankly, it's probably quite a small team. Okay. And that business we'll have like a customer success team. So a client-facing team within Dubai or Hong Kong. And then we'll have a delivery team and quite a big chunk of our marketing team and our ops team in Colombo in Sri Lanka. Okay. Yeah. And they are, in essence, a big part of the engine for our business. And then we have people in where we've got licenses who are the face of and go and meet our customers and go and make sure that the product that we deliver to them is of top quality. And then we have a small business development team on site in those locations as well. So it's a slightly different model to what most recruitment businesses have, where they have 360 recruiters and they sling them all in where they've got licenses. And so quite often they're a yo-yo. They have lots of staff, then they lose lots of staff. They're yo-yo businesses. And I'm trying to, particularly in Dubai, because what you have to do is recruitment businesses naturally have quite high attrition rates, I
really
find.
do, yes.
And in Dubai, no one's really from here. Okay. Yeah. So you've got to factor in, I've lost people over the years just because they don't want to live here or just because they've had to go home for family reasons or anything. Dubai's always been one of the toughest places to keep people for a long period of time.
Well, there's the other side to that. If you have to let someone go, you're not just affecting, they can't go back and live with their parents. They've got to basically potentially go back home and move their whole lives back. So I guess a recruitment decision has never been more important, and the fact that you are outsourcing some of that takes away some of the problems.
It means we only want elite people in the places where we've got licenses.
Yeah.
I try and avoid, I call it the smash and grab culture in Dubai, because a lot of people come here and literally just want to smash and grab in 2 years, take as much money as they can, and then leave and try and leave as wealthy as they can. Normally it doesn't work out like that. They take as much money as they can and spend it, right? but I try and avoid hiring those types of people and try and spotting that. And that's one of the things that you have in Dubai. So getting a really dedicated elite team within Dubai. I'm about to do the same in Saudi. In Singapore, that's going to be a localized business. In Hong Kong, we've got a very localized business. So Dubai actually is the one where most of our staff aren't from. We don't have any Emiratis, and I don't know many recruitment businesses that have Emiratis. Yeah. So one of the challenges with Dubai is scaling Dubai when no one's from Dubai.
Yeah, I guess you're probably selling to a lot of Emiratis as opposed to sort of employing them, right?
Yeah, and they're just population-wise, they make up a very small number of the population now. I think it's something like 12 or 13 to 1.
Oh, really? That's loads. That's loads. You know what I'm always thinking about, and this is quite a shameful story. When I was a 360 recruiter in the traditional model, I'd be such a hunter. And occasionally you get marketing handing you a lead. And I don't know if you've ever seen this. That lead that was handed to me, I occasionally almost forgot about because it wasn't mine and I didn't go out and hunt for it myself. So when I think of that, and I can't get over the psychology behind that, it makes me realize that your model makes a lot of sense, because the people who want that buzz of going out to get that new business are going to get it. And the people who, I think you are either one or the other. I think you can cross over and be a bit of a nurturer for clients, but also a hunter-grabber. But I think a lot of people fall on one or the other, would you say?
Yeah, I think marketing is a function where, B2B marketing is not a new concept, but in recruitment, we seem to just rely on old-fashioned ways of going to market, or we rely on LinkedIn and the phone. That's probably the two main principles that people use. Now people are there's the odd app or piece of tech that they're prepared to bolt on and they're seeing the benefits of it. But really, it's very old-fashioned. And you think the way I think we should target customers is we should find out who they are, find out where they are, market to them, tell them how we can solve their problems, get them to come back to us and express interest, and then we can call and activate on the back of that.
So you wouldn't necessarily cold call as the old traditional in the first instance. You'd wait until you'd got a bit more.
We try and make the approach as warm as possible. Social, we have quite a large presence. Everyone in the business focuses on their personal brand. Then we use our marketing team to speak to, research, engage with potential customers, be it through content, be it through salary guides, be it through various other campaigns that we might have going on. And then once their interest is gauged, our business development team can jump on that and then try and activate the lead, go and meet them, and see if we can get some work with them. Now, what we don't do is we don't have a short-term mentality when it comes to new business as well. I think a lot of recruiters want to talk to someone. If they haven't got any business from them now, they just hang up and move on. I think the best customers that you can have and the best relationships you can have are with people that you show that you don't want the here and now, that you show you want to form a relationship with them, that you show you want to actually work with them to solve their problems. And those are sometimes the best relationships and the most long-term relationships that you can have. Our Dubai business really has a very long-standing core group of clients that have worked with us for a long time. And that's because they know we understand their problems and we can fix them.
Love that. Yeah, and I think one of the things I always think about was scaling. There's two types of recruitment companies, right? There's the type that they get in the big billers. They don't really manage them. They give them all the autonomy. It's, to me, a bit of a shortcut. Just hope for the best. And often the retention's a bit dodgy. They leave, or unless they've got a phenomenal commission structure. Or you've got what you're doing, because this is what I noticed, that you will take people cross-sector if they've got the right attitude, and you'll nurture and develop them. And for example, a guy that I'm speaking to at your organisation who's progressed really quickly, he's basically self-taught the whole sector and done it that way, and extremely loyal. Do you do that intentionally to scale, to bring on people and sort of mould them, or?
Higher attitude, trained skill. That's the sort of the mantra that we always will stand by. I think if I can get someone from industry or someone's interested from the Marcoms creative and digital world, then great.
Yeah.
But you have to have an interest in it. The baseline is you have to have an interest in the Marcoms world. Once you've got that, then you can teach people about what it's like to be a great recruiter in that space.
So a lot of people will be listening to this and they'll be thinking, okay, that all sounds great, but how can I do that myself? Like that's all, how can I get someone who hasn't been in sector and train them up and it's not working for us? And also bearing in mind that your management probably had to change a lot as the company has grown and you've opened new offices here, there and everywhere whilst keeping everyone communicating.
Yeah.
It's a challenge. What advice would you give to companies who want to improve their retention, nurture people coming through the door without losing them and getting the right attitude? What's the main kind of advice that you would give?
Yeah, I can probably speak from mistakes that we've made. I think when you make sure they've got a decent onboarding pack, make sure they're clear who they are, what their job, have they got an actual job description, make sure that they know who all their colleagues are and what their colleagues do, make sure they spend time and invest to get to know other international offices, what clients they work with, what customers they work with. I think there's various things you can do to make someone feel welcome and when they're onboarded. And a lot of people just throw someone on the desk, let them work for themselves, let them suss it out for themselves, and they become lost souls.
Yes,
you know? And that's what we used to do, and we lost a lot of people from that.
Yeah, so important. And I was saying previously to somebody that I've seen people go thinking they're not right, it's them, then they're successful somewhere else. And that's the biggest bugbear. As a manager, I know you're very present. You're very good at doing the videos and putting yourself out there, which is admirable because a lot of people are. Do you ever, well, first of all, I'm just curious to know as much as anything, do you ever have that, are you ever self-conscious or have you always got that confidence? Because it takes a lot sometimes to put yourself out there. I put videos out. I always put the first one out because I've just got to the point now I just don't care anymore. It is what it is. But what internally, do you struggle at all to kind of put yourself out there or does it always come naturally?
I think once you do the first one, you blow out the cobwebs. And I think now I'm a lot less nervous than I used to be. And I think video is a great way of engaging with people. And you know that I'm not running on ChatGPT when I'm doing a video, right? So I think video is an incredibly personal way of reaching out to your audience. I think people buy from people. I think personal brand is the tip of the spear when it comes to sales as well. So I try and make sure that my personal brand kind of really talks about the story and the journey that we're on, and that hopefully potential employees or customers can buy into that. I think because my wife is constantly on, she does video calls and video LinkedIn messages, and she's kind of watching her do it, to be honest with you, kind of inspired me, made me think this is really easy. Yeah. So we get quite competitive in our household. So
that's so funny. I'd love to be a fly on the wall because for anyone who's listening to this, your wife's a very successful entrepreneur too, right? Yeah. And has scaled a tech business successfully. Yeah. How is that? I'm so curious. In two successful partners with 3 kids, would you ever work together?
No way. No, we wouldn't work together. Helen and I have worked closely. We did have a business together at one point, but Helen fronted it and I was sort of much more in the back end. Yeah. We keep our work life. We talk about it a lot, but we never really work, go in and pitch together or stuff like that. We don't do that anymore. And I think the business Helen's got now is a tech company. Her business partner, Helen's ex-business partner, Hayley, she was a techie and Helen fronted the sales and marketing side, and they were a great duo. I think I'm a good soundboard, as Helen is vice versa for me. I think having 2 entrepreneurs in the family is exciting, but also can be quite stressful at times as well. We've got 3 young kids. Yeah. So that's kind of work-life balance where it's great that the other half is understanding, but we've also got to be conscious that we both got to be present with our kids, and that can be quite a challenge as well. When we go on holiday, you're both having to do video calls or being pulled away. Sometimes that can be quite stressful and tough.
And how do you manage that? Because there'll be a lot of people, again, recruiters who are listening to this and thinking, I haven't got time for my family. What advice would you give to them?
Look, I've met a single successful entrepreneur that hasn't had to make sacrifices. Mm-hmm. So don't kid yourself that you can balance everything and life's going to be great. I think what you put into this and the time and effort that you give to it, you will reap the rewards in time. You can't do everything. No. I think I don't take my kids to school like a lot of parents, and people might have their opinions on that, but it's not something I've managed to have time to do right now, but I try and spend as much time with them outside of that. One of the benefits of living in Dubai is I don't have this long commute or anything like that, and I can pop home.
And it's about the quality, right?
I feel like I spend quality time with them, but I'm not I'm not with them all the time. Like after this podcast, I'm in Singapore, Hong Kong, Colombo, and London. I'm going to be away from them a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's always quite tough as well. But you can't. I'm making all these sacrifices and doing this now because they'll have a bright and successful future. Hopefully,
yeah.
They've got a very nice life now, and they'll continue to have that.
100%. Yeah, and I think that I do go back to that quality time. I certainly have to be very conscious not to be on my phone and things like that when they're there. And even now, I find that really difficult. I'd like to talk about Justin, the manager, because you're very much the face of the business. I imagine that you're sort of wanting to take more of a step back as the business grows. If I was to get your team into a room right now and I was to say, let's be really mean, what's the worst thing about being managed by Justin? What do you think they would say?
The worst thing about being managed by me? Gosh, that's a real hard one, isn't it? The worst thing about being managed by me is probably that I'm quite a full-on. I roll my sleeves up and get my hands involved, and I probably can sometimes. They might think that I'm a bit too hands-on, or that might be in the way, or they might feel that I'm not a micromanager by any stretch of the imagination. I'm probably a bit of a control freak at times. I think a lot of entrepreneurs are. I think that's something that I'm learning to do, is take a step back. I think I'm best served as a new business person, and I'm a leader, but I'm probably not the best people manager, I would say. And you learn these skills as you get older. I think you can learn by example through me. I think I'm a hard worker. I think people can see that I've grafted quite a lot throughout my life. So that hopefully is a good example. But am I the best person to do a learning and development program with individuals and go through the step-by-steps how to recruit? No, I'm not. My business partner, Adam's very good at that.
Yeah. No, I'm the same. I can't imagine anything worse than an L&D role. I'm too impatient. But so what would they say is the best thing? And I've got the answer for this because I've been doing some spy work. What would they say is the best thing about being managed by Justin?
Hopefully they can get a sense that I install in them that you can do it attitude, that I install in them that anything's possible. That I always try and tell my story and show them that where I wasn't spoon-fed or passed anything. It's all been made by me, right? So hopefully they can feel that being around me, that I can teach them how they can do something great with their life.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The actual answer, and that's probably true, the actual answer, they didn't want to say the worst thing because they're too respectful. But the actual answer came from one of your staff, was that it's your energy. Yeah. And I agree. I think like the best leaders are the people who have that passion and that energy that is infectious in a room. And I think there are a lot of tired managers and tired recruiters out there who lose that. So I think, it's definitely an example for lots of people aspiring, I think, to be managers out there who are listening to this. What advice would you give to those who are listening and want to go into management and progress? It could be someone in your company who's thinking they want that next progression in recruitment.
I did a talk on Monday to a bunch of university students about what it's like to move into what advice I would give them about trying to find their first job. And the example I gave was this recent experience I had in Riyadh, where I was talking at an event, and it was for the PR and communications world. And one of the waitresses at the event, she chose to become a waitress there so that she could get in front of potential people that would hire her, right? And while I was walking, I just finished my talk, and I was walking down, sitting in my seat, and she came up and gave me her business card with a CV on a QR code. And she was super proactive. Her attitude, you could just tell that this person's going to be a brilliant hire. Okay. Yeah. And I took a business card and I've helped to introduce her to a couple of people. And I think that attitude, no matter what stage you are in your career, that's the one that's going to serve you well, because over time, we all learn skill sets. We all learn on the job, right? But what's going to move us up the ladder, and what's going to genuinely get us to change our lives is our attitude, is the way we approach a situation, how hard we work, how much effort we put into it, and what we do to try and stand out in front of other, in a competitive market, what we're prepared to do to be ahead of the competition. And that's what is going to make you stand out, be it as an employee or as a brand. It's attitude.
Good on her. I think there's a lot of people who don't approach people directly, or they're scared to, or they go through recruiters. I've had people approach me before and say, can you get in contact with this organization? And I'm thinking, why are you telling me about this organization that you get in contact with them directly? There's a place for recruiters within that. But I think, having the guts to put yourself out there is a massive thing. So what is next what is next for MCG Talent, and which geographical areas are you most excited about for the next year?
Yeah, I think for us, it's getting this system that we've got, which is a relatively new system. It's getting refining the product as much as possible. So making sure that our marketing engine is firing in all cylinders, making sure we've got our business developers in Middle East and Asia, bringing lots of tension and new customers through, that our delivery team in Colombo is speaking to lots of wonderful people and getting those up to the right parties. One of the key areas that I've invested quite a lot of money into is in licensing Riyadh. So I've got to get this Saudi business up and running. We've taken what I thought was going to take 2 months, took 12 months to set up this business. We've invested a lot of money into it. It's a play. We're one of the first niche recruiters on the ground in Saudi. So it's a bit of a punt I've taken. So I've got to make sure that works.
Yeah.
They've got to get the Dubai business. I think there's loads of work still to do here, loads of work to get from Abu Dhabi. In Asia, obviously, the markets in Asia have been a bit interesting this year because China, no one really knows what the economic situation is in China, and that engine's sort of stuttering right now. And Singapore is quite connected. A lot of business in Singapore that we work with is in the tech sector, quite connected to Silicon Valley Bank issues, etc. So getting that back on the ground and moving forward, that's my real goal next year, is to make sure we've got the right team, the system working well, and we're firing back on all cylinders.
Nice. No, it's really exciting. And one of my final questions, I'm going to have 2 final questions.
Okay.
One of my final questions is, and it's a very cliche question, but if you've posted a lot about this as well, if you were to go back 20 years, do something differently, that would mean that you would progress further at this point, what would that thing be?
What would I do differently? I think I'd not put so much pressure on myself to, I put myself under a lot of pressure in the early days of my career. I wanted to have absolute perfection. I took everything so incredibly personally. I took everything that went wrong in the business. It was like a harpoon through the heart. And I think as you get older as an entrepreneur, the highs aren't as high and the lows aren't as low, right? So I'd have a word with myself and make sure that I wasn't as emotional in my decision making as possible. I also would not try and do everything myself. I think it took me, I set up the business in 2012. I didn't have a business partner until 2016. So that was quite a high pressure environment, doing that all on your own. And I think having someone to share the journey with has been a wonderful experience.
Yeah.
I think the third thing I would probably do is I would focus more on product than service.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is I think a service-based business is a great way to start off your career. But I would use and it's a great way of generating cash. But I think if you really want to scale a business, you could also look into what product could solve your audience's problem. Yeah. And that's something I can't turn back at the hands of time, and I do enjoy my business. But I wish I'd invested a bit more time into identifying a product that could really solve the problem in the talent space.
Well, there's a perfectionist in you again, because I think a lot of the audience will be, and I know a lot of people in recruitment will be thinking, actually, I'd be very happy if I was as successful as you had been. I guess it's always easy, isn't it, to look at, well, what could have been that, especially when you're a perfectionist. And not only that, other things that people who are listening to this might not know is that you're very into your sort of self-care, in the sense of you're at the gym quite a lot, I hear, and doing all of that. So where the heck do you get this energy? Or is the energy because you go to the gym? I don't know.
Fear. It's all still.
I need to have that? If I want to have more energy, you're saying that I need to imagine the worst case. I do anyway. But do you think that, and in a respectful way, is it always healthy?
Well, I've always worried about being unhealthy. So what do I do? I go to the gym. I keep myself fit and active, because I kind of use that to spur me on, right? I've always worried about running out of money. So I use that as energy to spur me on. And it all stems, these are all things which I think
When do you stop worrying?
Well, that's the problem, right? So that is, this isn't a therapy session, I hope. That's something you've got to think about, is when I've got to learn about being satisfied. That's something that a journey I'm on myself right now, is that when is enough and when should you feel satisfied with your life? Now, that's a long-winded question, and it's something I'm exploring. But I think if you look at some of the great entrepreneurs that there are out there and the great success stories, people don't stop. It's a bug, right? And it's whether you like it or not, it's a bug that's inside you. And I think it's just how you learn to control that bug. And how you could I've got to learn how to manage my sense of fear and learn when to take a step back and feel satisfied. It's actually taken me quite a few podcasts and conversations to understand what spurred me on in the first place.
Yeah.
Because I'm one of those people that thinks about the next day so much. I very rarely think about what happened yesterday. And I think in order to know where you need to go, you need to reflect on what happened yesterday.
Yeah. And have you worked out what the peak of happiness and where you want to go looks like yet?
Look, I think from a financial perspective, as I'm a family guy, I think that for me, financial freedom for my family is the main goal I've got in my mind. My wife's done a phenomenally great job of selling her business, her tech business.
And with your help.
Yeah, that's very kind of you to say. But I think that has the fact that we could be financially free as a family. That's really, I think there's a bit more work to be done on that from my side, but that would be a wonderful achievement to have. But it certainly wouldn't put me on the retirement path. I think I'd just look to do something else or move on to the next gear.
I'll probably see you maybe in Dubai in 20 years on the beach with your feet up, still trying to work at something.
Completely shriveled, yeah.
No, I'm sure you won't. I'm sure you won't. Thank you so much. And thank you for being honest and open. I think a lot of people who are very inspired by you will feel very passionate. And if people are listening to this and they're thinking, I really want to get in touch with him and find out more, maybe work for you or maybe be coached by you, because I know you're doing more coaching now.
Yeah.
How should they go about that?
Drop me an email, justin@mcgtalent.io. That would be great.
Awesome. And I know you're very active on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah, LinkedIn messaging, I'm playing catch up a little bit on that one, but emails go straight to me. I'm a bit more on top of that.
Yeah, awesome. That's interesting. Awesome. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this show. If you liked it, please leave us a 5-star review. We continually try to get the top billers in the world of recruitment to help you increase your billings, be a top commission earner, and most importantly, live your most rewarding life. You can find out about new roles on my Instagram @SusannaChimeSearch, and you can find me on LinkedIn or join the Chime Searches page to get all of the latest recruitment updates and tips. Thank you for listening.